Welcome back to the Fit Minute Podcast, Fitness are Real People. I'm your host, Gabby Mazar, and on today's episode, my guest is Stuart Preston, and we're going to talk about how he went from a non-runner to finishing his first full marathon. So we'll hear all about his training schedule, what he did to get there, and his motivation. Welcome back to the Fit Minute Podcast. I'm your host, Gabby Mazar, and today my guest is Stuart Preston, and we're going to discuss marathon training, or stuff about marathons, I guess. Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Let's start by just saying, why did you decide to do a full marathon?
Well, I'd done a few half marathons. I did a couple back in 2009 and 10. And then I did another one in 2018, and it just was always in the back of my mind to try a full marathon.
Yeah.
Now, I always thought it'd be impossible, because when you finish a half marathon, when I did, I was so broken down and tired and destroyed that I thought doubling that, there was no way.
Well, you weren't always a runner. You're not a runner.
No, I'm not a runner. No, I'm not a runner. I always hated running. I was in the Army, so I had to run.
Yes.
And I did play soccer for a long time as a kid, and I had to run around the field. But getting out on the street and just going for a run was never something I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I did it back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, just to lose some weight. I had gained a lot of weight.
Right. Okay.
And so I started running at the gym on a treadmill, and then I got out on the street, which is a whole different thing to your body.
Right.
And so I just started running a little bit and did a half marathon and then another one. And in 2018, when I did that rock and roll marathon, it was actually horrible. My training didn't go well. My knees were locking up. I had a horrible run.
Marathon.
Yeah, the half marathon. And it was just brutal. And I got an email from the people who run that, and they're like, hey, run the full marathon, $65, which it can be up to $140 for a ticket to this thing or whatever.
So you were motivated by money?
No, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to do it and just see how it goes. And you probably deal with this a lot with your clients. It's something in my brain just clicked.
Okay.
And my commitment to doing this fell into place.
Yeah, you have to be ready. You have to be committed and ready. Otherwise, you're just not going to follow through with it. It's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's the hard part.
Yep.
Because if we could find out the trick to locking in that commitment, then so many people, I think, could accomplish so many more things. And I know a lot of people who do stuff like this, like, so how do you do it? It's like, well, anybody can do it. You know what I mean? It's just easy. You got to commit to it. You just have to be committed and be as amazing as I am. And it's just not like that.
No.
Something clicks in your head and you're like, okay, I am now committed to doing this.
Yeah, my longest, I think we've discussed this before, but my longest run, I think, was a 10K. I did, I don't know, quite a few. I did like Iron Girl and a color run and I don't know, whatever it was. And then I did the 10K and Pat's Run, I did that too. And then after the 10K, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm good. Yeah. I've accomplished what I feel.
Right.
Running just isn't my thing. It's not for everybody. But, you not being a runner, being motivated to do this, just completed the 2019 Rock and Roll Marathon.
Right.
So what was, kind of describe your training schedule and what you went through during training to train for this marathon.
So I did a search, and there's a very popular training program out there called Hal Higdon. And if you look at it and you join communities out there for half marathoners, Hal Higdon has a really good, and it's free. He probably wants you to pay for the paid one. Sorry, Hal. But you can download his free version of it, and it just lays out a great program for, I don't know, maybe 12 to 16 weeks, something like that. And it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So you add, you go from 10 to 12, back to 10, up to 14, down to 12, up to 16. And you just do that week after week after week, and get that done. And I know the other thing about this, there's a lot of luck involved.
Right.
It's not all pounding my chest and saying, look how great I am, I got this done, and I'm an amazing human being. There's so many things, and I'm so grateful to you. I can't, anybody listening to this, Gabby, I give her so much credit for me being able to do this, because I've trained for things before. You mentioned Pat's Run. I do that every year.
Yeah.
As a vet and a Sun Devil, and I actually got to meet Pat. Outside of my family, he's one of my two heroes, Theodore Roosevelt, Pat Tillman. So I do that in honor to him, and I go and I run that. And one year in my training, I pulled a muscle in my calf, and so I still went and ran Pat's Run like a peg-legged pirate. You know what I mean?
Did you wear an eye patch and a parrot?
No.
Oh, well.
No, I just hobbled around groaning.
Oh.
And so it was, accidents happen, injuries happen, and you really have to be lucky, I think, to get through this.
Yeah.
I didn't get the flu.
Yeah,
you know
that
what
was
I mean?
lucky.
Yeah.
That was really lucky because everybody was getting sick.
Yeah, with my barber sneezing on me, I was just like, oh, please don't give me the cold or the flu. And
nice.
There's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an Olympic marathoner. She came in fourth, I think, at the Olympics, that just bowed out of the Houston Marathon because her legs were locking up.
Yeah.
So there's so much luck involved. But I think having a good training program like that, being committed to it, coming in and seeing you, and just after every long run on a Sunday, I came in Monday morning feeling like, okay, I can't run anymore.
Yeah.
And then you would do the stretch and put my body back into order. And I felt like, okay, I can go back out this week and continue my training program. So there's a lot of preparation. I'm sure that, part of not getting sick was having a good diet.
Yeah.
And eating the right things. Not getting injured was coming in and, getting stretched with you. So a lot of things that go into it, but there's just a lot of luck.
When you came in for your first stretch with me, I just want to say that I remember you saying to me, I don't know if this is going to do anything for me, and I've never stretched in my life.
I think that was actually in the parking lot outside of our networking meeting.
Okay.
Because I don't stretch.
Right.
Even now, I do a very little stretch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I think that's normal.
Yeah.
People don't think that stretch is a necessary thing, that flexibility is going to affect you that much. But it really does make such a huge difference.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Because I probably, in my training, I probably ran 800 miles around there in the whole year.
Yeah.
Right? Probably half of that at the end. But probably ran about 800 miles. And to run 800 miles and not hurt myself.
Yeah.
By jumping off of something or across something or stepping into something or slipping. All the little things that happen on these runs, I think it's, if I had not been doing the stretch therapy, I think I definitely would have tweaked something. And that you don't have a lot of time. You're on a program, and I did have to take about a week and a half off for a little tweak that happened to my calf. But it was really just preventative.
Yeah. Which was smart. That was a good choice.
I think
to
so.
take that off.
It was hard.
It could have gotten worse had you not taken that break. So what kept you motivated? What kept you going to actually accomplish this, and because to run a full marathon is it's impressive. I mean, it's not an easy thing. It's not, just get up in the morning and you're go run a marathon. It's a lot of training. You would get up early mornings and run at 5 a.m. and
yeah. I mean, I'm naturally a get up in the morning person. I'm not a morning person. I'm not pleasant to be around, but I like to get up and get my day started.
Right.
So. Yeah, in the summer I'll wake up between 3:30 and 4:30, and in the winter it's usually between like 5 and 5:30. And just go. And I don't know. I don't know what keeps me doing. I set a goal.
Yeah.
And then I think I just stubbornly pursue the goal.
Being stubborn.
I think so. I think it's just a matter of like, okay, I need to get out there and do this.
Yeah. And you also ran a couple races in between the time you were doing your training, or just one race?
Yeah.
Back in November.
In November I did the half.
Yeah.
Because within the program, that was at that point, I was supposed to be running 12 to 14 miles. So I just tacked on the half marathon. I probably should not have raced it.
Okay.
I should have just gone out and run. But, you get competitive with all these other people. So, I pushed it. I set my personal best, at that race, which was good.
Yeah.
I beat my crappy January of 18 half marathon by 15 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I had a terrible run in January last year. Yeah, it was awful.
Can you just not be so humble and just say, yeah, thank you?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm a very self-critical
Yes, you're
person.
very self-critical. You set a goal for this marathon and you actually beat it by
10 seconds.
10 seconds, which is still an accomplishment because you set a goal and not only did you meet that goal, but you exceeded that goal, even if it's only 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Don't stop giving me those evil eyes.
I just don't. Do you want me to tell that story about the goal and?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So I think this is the best part of running a marathon because there are those athlete people that just go out and run a marathon.
Right.
Big whoop. You're done in 3.5 hours, right?
Right.
I'm still out there for 3 more hours or whatever.
Right.
So that's tough. But I had a goal to finish the marathon, just to cross the finish line.
Yep.
And I told you, it's kind of a joke, but I told you in our stretch therapy session that was, if I cross the start line, I'm going to cross the finish line even if an ROTC cadet had to drag me by my shoelaces.
Yes.
Right? And I told that to a friend of mine who runs marathons, and he was like, BS. You know, he said, you're going to finish. You've done the training, you're going to finish. He said, set a goal. And in the back of my mind, my goal was 5 hours and 45 minutes. And that was based on 2 things. One, a friend of mine had done it in that time years ago. And so for some reason, it just stuck in my head like that's an acceptable time. Because they don't sweep you off the course until 7 hours.
Right.
Right. And so, and then I look at my normal pace when I train is somewhere between 13 minutes and 13:20 per mile. I'm very slow.
Yeah.
Right. And
But
so,
that's your pace. And
it gets you there.
Exactly.
You know, so you just keep going, relentless forward movement.
Yep.
You know, and so I looked at that pace and I thought, yeah, I can do 5 hours and 45 minutes. And so my goal was 5 hours and 45. And then my third goal was to run the whole thing. And I thought my plan was in the first half, run a good, decent race. Don't push it.
Yeah.
Right? But run a good, decent first half. And I knew from my training that I'd be about 2 hours, 40 minutes, 2 hours, 45, which would give me like an extra 15 minutes to throw on there if I started to struggle.
Yeah.
And in the second half, I started to struggle. And it was hot outside is my excuse, is it was hot. And the fact of the matter is it's not an excuse, is that I failed to train properly.
Okay.
So you like to say, you know, oh, you get up early, you have discipline. But I was running when it was cool.
Right.
And I should have gone out there and found hot days to do it because I was not prepared when the sun came out. And
Yeah.
you noticed in my stretch therapy, I had a sunburn.
Yes.
You know, and so I was like, I was not prepared for that. And it started kicking my butt.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, I mean, that wasn't intentional. You know, it wasn't like you intentionally failed. You know, that was when your training time was. But, yeah, I mean, it does make a big difference. You know.
Yeah, just knowing that, being prepared for everything.
Yep. Yep.
And so I started to struggle, and I had to start doing walk-run. And as soon as I took that first walking step, I felt like a failure. You know what I mean? I felt like I failed. I'm walking. I didn't run the whole thing. This is terrible. And so I went through a period in this race where I was just feeling down and defeated, you know. And if I had known how to quit, I might have quit. You know what I mean? I was like, well, how do you quit a marathon?
You can't. I don't think you can.
Yeah, how do you do that? You can walk off the side of the road. I just didn't know how to do it, right? So I just kept going, and I kept looking at my watch, and I was like, you know, I can still hit my target goal time.
Right.
And so I just kept making calculations in my head. I was like, I got to hit this target time, that target time, and I just kept going. And then when I got to the end, maybe the last half mile, 3/4 of a mile, I looked at my watch and I thought, I am right on the edge. You know what I mean? I really got to push this. And I just started running. I dug up everything I had, and I just ran. You know, and I crossed the finish line. According to my watch, it was 15 seconds, right?
But the official time.
The official time was 10 seconds. But in either case, I'm glad, you know, I got there in time. And like I told you in another one of our sessions, if you had told me ahead of time that I would have finished this race in 5 hours and 44 minutes and 50 seconds at a 13:09 pace, I would have been delighted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But the fact that I did have to walk some of it really kind of killed me. And now that I look back on it, it's turned into more of a lesson and almost a point of pride.
Yeah.
That it ended up being that hard. You know, because if I had gone out and just run it, you know, I probably would have been a lot happier. I would have been like, yeah, I ran the whole thing. Look at me, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was a struggle, I think that's part of the whole learning process. Mm-hmm. To come out of this thing and be like, yeah, you know, it ended up being hotter than I wanted, and I struggled. My fingers were swollen like sausages. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was just it was a tough thing. But to cross the finish line running and to hit that goal, ultimately I felt better about it. But you're right, I was beating myself up.
Yes, it's
pretty hard.
huge accomplishment. Like I said, the longest one I ever did was a 10K. So.
Well, I remember I ran my first 5K. It was the Ostrich Festival 5K here in town, and I was so happy with myself. And a running buddy of mine, he was in a leads group over the Chandler Chamber. He's like, "Oh, you did a 5K? You'll do a 10K next." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Twice as long? There's no way I'm going to run. Because in the Army you run 2 miles,
Right?
And then you qualify to be a soldier. You know
right.
what I mean?" I was like, "That's all I'm going to have to do." And so I was like, 3 miles was 50% more.
Yeah.
But there's no way I'm going to do 10K.
Right.
But he was right. After you do that, you just keep adding on, and so. But I have no goals of running like an ultra marathon. I'll probably never even run another regular marathon.
So you don't think you will ever? You didn't catch the bug, and you don't think you will ever do a marathon?
I really don't. So my goal was to just one and done. When I signed up back in 18, I was like one and done. And I talked to this lady in my corral. I was in the last corral with the back of the pack people is what they call us, right? All the slugs who don't go out there and run it like a marathon.
Right. They don't run a 5:26 mile.
Yeah, which is insane. So I was talking to her, and I was like, "Yeah, this is my last one. I already know that."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, me too." There's people like us that are just like a bucket list. I turned 50, and I was just like, "I'm going to go out and run a marathon by the time I'm 50, so I better do it now." And she was the same way. But now, in the back of my mind, I keep hearing, "Well, if you train in some heat, if you add a few miles." If you do these kind of things, maybe you can do this again. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lot of training.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard Sundays.
Yep.
My Sunday is blown. You go out and run 16, 18, 20 miles. I get back, I'm just going to lay here in my house and not do anything the rest of the day. And that's, half your weekend's gone. Mm-hmm. For me, not for the rest of you. You guys can probably go out and run and be fine. But when I get done running 20 miles, I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I'm not going to do anything the rest of the day. And so for a good 3 or 4 months, it was a lot of work and a lot of time spent running on the roads.
I am shocked because granted this was the very next day, but I asked you if you would do another one, and you said, absolutely not. I'm done. I did it.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I set my goal. And that's kind of my personality.
Yeah.
Is when I accomplished, like I had a little blues band here in town.
Okay.
And, my goal was to play in the rhythm room.
Okay.
And we got 15 minutes in the rhythm room, and we walked out, standing out front, and I was like, "Guys, I'm done. We did it." You know what I mean? We accomplished our goal. And as soon as I accomplish a goal, my mind is like, move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. That's why I never get guys like Nick Saban at Alabama, how they can win championship after championship after championship, because my mind is always like, that was awesome. Hanging my medal on the wall and go try something else.
Yeah.
And so I knew one and done was going to be within my personality. But people have been telling me, no, you won't. You'll want to do it again. And I just keep hearing these little things in my mind like, well, if you do this and you do that, you'll have a better race. And now that I've done one, it's kind of like, it's like the first one is a test run.
Right.
Like, what is this all about? What does it really involve? How hard is it? What's going on? And so now that I have one, my mind is kind of wandering toward maybe another one.
Well, and the first time.
But probably not.
The first time you do something is the worst time, right? So.
Yeah. My third half marathon was my worst one.
Oh, interesting.
By a lot. Well, that's what I told you. My training fell apart. My knees were locking up.
Yeah.
And it just was bad. It just was really bad. But yeah, it was, we'll see. So
you are a vegetarian.
I am.
That doesn't eat vegetables.
Correct. I can't stand vegetables. Technically, it's the cruciferous vegetables, right?
Right. So no cauliflower, broccoli,
Brussels sprouts, kale.
Yeah.
Can't eat any of that stuff.
So what was your diet like during this whole training? Do you feel like you got enough,
Probably not.
No.
I ate semi-well. I mean, compared to the way I used to eat.
Which was?
Just a lot of meat, a lot of processed carbs. So I had no problem going to McDonald's, and I had no problem. I would literally grill, a friend of mine calls it a redneck turducken.
Okay.
I would literally grill like a hamburger stuffed with a hot dog wrapped in bacon.
Okay.
Yeah, my son and I made those, and it's just like meat.
A redneck turducken.
Yeah, a comedian friend of mine made that one up, so I got to give him credit, Jonathan Gerber. But Yeah, and so I just ate a lot of meat, and I ate badly, and I drank a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I drank a lot of beer. I drank so much alcohol that I literally would do, laying in bed at night, I would do a quiz to see if I was an alcoholic.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I was
okay.
like, it's like, how close am I to ruining my life with this, right? Because it was really a concern for me.
Yeah.
And so I never got to that point where I was ruining my family life and my work life and all that. I just had a problem. I was drinking too much alcohol. So I became a vegetarian 2 years ago by accident, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah. We'll leave that for another podcast.
And then in September of this year, this is the commitment, right?
Right.
When you decide in your head, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do this thing and accomplish it. Then you put a plan together, and then you start thinking, what is going to kick me off my plan?
Yeah.
And I knew right away alcohol. Because if I drink, like go out on Friday night or whatever, drink a bunch of beer, there's no way I'm going to feel good by Sunday morning.
No.
I know the hangover you feel the next morning, but your body is depleted. And dehydrated, and I would have eaten a pizza and a jug of ice cream, and you know what I mean? It's just, there's no way that was going to work.
Right.
And I was like, okay, no alcohol. And so I got rid of the alcohol, and even though I don't eat vegetables, you know, I would have a smoothie every morning.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I mean, if you saw my smoothie, you know, everybody was like, wow, because it's got everything from like my omega fats in it and protein. And I mean, all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I even had one before I came here today. It's a great smoothie. I love it. And so I do that.
What do you put in it?
Okay, so I put.
I'm curious. I'm sure that the listeners are curious.
Or are they?
I think so.
So for $19.95, you can buy my. No, just kidding. Just kidding. So I do frozen fruit, which is mixed fruit, right? So different colors.
Uh-huh.
My rule is 3 different color of fruits and vegetables all day.
Okay.
Right? So I put frozen fruit, frozen vegetables. So I can eat frozen kale as long as it's ground up into something.
And hidden.
Yeah, so I don't really know. I mean, it does turn my smoothie a different color, but, you know, so frozen fruit, frozen vegetable, Greek yogurt, water, hemp hearts, super green food powder.
Okay.
Chia seeds, and a little bit of honey, and there's something, I know, apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
I need to hide that in things too.
Yeah. So and a big scoop of, because I'm 50.
Right.
So a big scoop of fiber, right, goes in there. And so all that, and it's just like a great, I just feel good when I eat that. I just feel good. And so, and then throughout the day, I eat fruits, you know, apples, oranges, bananas, and then I'll have like a veggie burger or a veggie burrito or something like that for kind of a bigger lunch, maybe some eggs and veggie sausage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I do that that's what I do most of the week. I mean, Friday I go a little crazy and I may get like a veggie pizza. And when I finish my run, you're probably going to kill me for that. I don't even know if you know this, but
I don't know. Do I know this?
Go out for a really long run. I come back and I go to a little Mexican restaurant and I get a bean and cheese and egg burrito with a side of French fries.
Oh, I didn't know about the French fries.
Yeah, so I get carbs and I get protein and I get fiber and I get all of that, and I feel instantly like my body replenishing.
Right.
And my smoothie. So it's that's my diet.
Yeah.
Not sure I'd recommend. It's not horrible.
It's not horrible. No.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like training for this marathon has helped you to kind of change your diet and helped you to kind of maintain a healthier lifestyle altogether?
Yeah, I think so. I was doing a lot of because of the vegetarian thing.
Right.
I was already kind of on a much better path with that. Because when you go vegetarian, you realize, or vegan, you realize that you're not getting certain things that you used to get.
Uh-huh.
You know, like for me, B12 was a big one.
Right.
So I realized right away I've got to put B12 in my diet. So that's where the soy milk came from that goes into my smoothie. I don't know if I said soy milk.
I don't think you did.
So soy milk goes in there. And so that's a little bit of B12, and I'll get B12 from eggs. So you realize I got to put those kind of things into my diet or else I'm not going to have all my nutrients. So it kind of forced the fact that I could not eat meat anymore. Kind of forced me to eat better overall. Yeah. Right. But then the biggest thing has been the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know.
So when you finished the race and you were like a baby deer and wobbly, they handed you a beer.
They did. Actually, they didn't really hand it to you. They make you walk across the entire compound and find it.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
And I was really looking forward to having this beer. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm going to have a beer. And it was horrible. It was a Michelob Ultra. It was just like horrible, horrible beer. And even in that condition, it tasted terrible. You know, but it was, so I was a little disappointed in that. I know, so coming up, I have a mountain to fountain run.
Okay.
It's just over.
In Fountain Hills.
Yeah, it's a 15K from the McDowell Mountains into Fountain Hills. And at the end of that, you get a beer, and it's like a good beer.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And so that's a little more fun.
So you're looking forward to that.
Looking forward to finishing. Yeah.
Have you started drinking more since?
I've had a couple beers,
Okay.
but I haven't fallen back into my drinking ways.
That's great.
Well, for now, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe you will. No, hopefully you won't.
Beer is it's like a hobby for me.
Yeah.
I love good quality beer. I love red ales. I love pale ales. I love IPAs. And it's a hobby for me. I love it. I try them all, and I'm on the Untapped app.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just, so for me, it wasn't even hard at first because I was so committed to getting this marathon done.
Yeah.
That I was like, yeah, get rid of that. I can get rid of it. Now we'll see how much of a challenge it is to keep it away.
Yeah. Well, it just takes commitment and maybe a little stubbornness and just doing it to make little changes and reaching a goal. And then you reach that goal and you kind of move on to the next, right? And then you get drunk again. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping it's been really, really positive. I mean, there's a lot of good lessons to be learned from doing this.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that other people out there that have done full marathons or half marathons or even 5Ks like myself would be impressed with your time and just finishing it all together.
Well, thank you.
I think it's fantastic. I'm really proud of you. I think you did a great job. And I wanted to touch on one more thing that I think is really funny. One of the motivations for you to do the full marathon was the light rail. Yeah.
So you go to the half marathon. I do, and I would get on the light rail in Mesa.
Yeah.
And ride it into Tempe and get off. And what happens every year, it seems like, is I sit next to somebody and they're like, "Oh, you going to do the race?" Like, "Yeah, which one?" "Oh, I'm doing the half. How about you?" "Oh, I'm doing the full." And then I would feel like a slugger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, he's doing the full and I'm only doing the half." You know, and so I felt
only doing the half.
Yeah, so I felt, I guess the competitive part of me was like, "Oh, I'm really not putting my best foot forward." You know what I mean? I trained for the half, which anybody out there, if you do a half marathon, it is amazing and wonderful, and you're an incredible human being for going and doing that.
Yes.
Because it is hard.
It's hard.
It is hard. And like I told you, every time I finished one, I was like, there's no way I'm doubling this.
Yeah.
It's just not humanly possible. But these guys always made me feel like I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I just wasn't doing enough.
Oh, you're only doing the half.
You're only doing that. And they didn't even mean it that way.
I know.
You know, it's just, that's how I heard it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're only doing the half. And then you get a shirt, and your shirt says, you know, rock and roll marathon and half marathon, you know, and the medal says marathon and half marathon. You know, and I'm always just like, gah, I need to go do this marathon. So I finally now I have a shirt that just says marathon on it, and I have my little medal that just says marathon on it. So I think it's a little bit of maybe negative motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, and congratulations for finishing your first full marathon. Maybe you'll do another one in the future, and hopefully we can inspire people that aren't runners either to get out and try something new, to get out and do something. Even if you don't think you can do it, it is possible. And whether it's difficult or not, it's a goal you want to reach. And I'm really proud of you.
So thank you, Gabby. Great to be here, and thank you for all your help. Couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, you would have done it without me.
No.
But
I'd have been injured and crying. So
well,
thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody, for listening. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Fit Minute Podcast, Fitness for Real People, with me, your host, Gabby Mazar. If you would like any more information on what we talked about today, you can find it in the show notes, or you can find it on my website, www.healthybodyworksaz.com. Please leave us a review if you like what you hear, or subscribe to our channel on iTunes or whatever platform you listen to. Join us next week to hear more stories about people just like you.